Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we talk about movies on this show. This episode, we're going to talk about Tonya, which was actually one of our Patreon vote winners. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, our patrons pick between 4 films, and we talk about the winner. So the theme of this one was basically, it was 4 movies from last year's Oscars that we hadn't ever reviewed or talked about. And it was like, hey, which one... Was it all last year's Oscars, or was it one for like 4 different years? I think it was one from 4 different years, actually, now that I think about it.
Might have been that.
I
We
think it was...
definitely considered doing from last year's.
Yeah, I think it was one from 2017, one from... I think it was. I think we thought 2017 at first, and then we looked at the list and went, I don't want to... There's not 4 of these that I'm willing to do. And then I said, okay, let's do one from each year. And that was a better selection. So the winner was I, Tonya, though. So we're going to talk about I, Tonya. This is a film about Tonya Harding, based on the outrageous true story, as the film itself even starts with. Do we have a spoiler-free section for this? Because it's based on a true story.
I mean, is there that much to spoil?
Well, for me there was, because I didn't really know anything about this story, so I was learning things.
But given that, I mean, the movie opens with the incident, right? You know, it opens with them addressing that. So it's kind of just, okay, how do we get to that?
They don't say outright what it is, though, because I didn't know what it was until it happened.
Oh, right, okay.
They don't actually say what the incident... They refer to an incident, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. This is exciting. What's the incident?
Oh, fair enough, okay. It is weird, because obviously it's just history. I know I knew it going in.
I'd heard of her name, and that was it. I didn't know why she quit skating. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know any of that stuff.
Fair enough.
Call me crazy. Figure skating is not my expertise.
Mine either, but you know.
It's not my expertise. 2019's figure skating is not my expertise. 1993's is definitely not. I was 4. I wasn't watching figure skating. I was watching Power Rangers.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah, so I guess spoiler warning, but I mean, I don't. At the same time, I don't know how much of this you can really spoil. So
yeah,
take that for
just Wikipedia.
Yes, Wikipedia. Yes, you can go read up on the event. So it's done in a kind of a full documentary style to a point.
Yeah, it's a framing device.
Which is based on real interviews, which I only know because the end credits show you some of the real interviews with the real people, which we'll get to later. But so it has this framing device, and it moves through kind of sort of how she got into skating, relationship with her mother. Her mother, Allison Janney, plays the mother, and she was nominated for supporting actor. Margot Robbie's playing Tonya herself. So we have that stuff early on, and then it kind of, bamboozles. A lot of it's about a relationship with her on and off again husband and his friend, who claims to be a secret agent / spy operative thing.
It's a bit of a character, isn't
he? Oh, I love this character. This guy's like...
I hope this is really accurate.
Well, that was the thing. The interview bit at the end in the credits, it was like, well, this actually does sound like him. He really does sound this delusional. But do you know what I think makes that character... I mean, saying works are weird, because again, he's based on a real person, but what makes it feel kind of outrageous but believable is that I've not met anyone quite that delusional, but I definitely remember meeting like other kids when I was young enough that had these kind of stories that would tell you these kind of things. They would have this kind of tone.
Yeah.
Right? So it feels like an extension of people that I have met, at least at a young age when everyone was young and stupid. I mean,
yeah.
His age,
it's a little less forgivable.
A little less forgivable, yes. So I guess the quick thing to do is ask the question: did you enjoy I, Tonya?
I did, which should come as no surprise, given that I'd seen this before and was happy enough to put it in the vote to watch again. So,
That's true. That is true. I had not seen this before. It was one that I meant to see last year and never got around to it, as is ever the case.
Yeah. So it happens a lot.
So yeah, I hadn't seen this. I didn't really know much about the story. I'd heard good things about the performances, and I'd heard... the one thing that was making me interested was the director, Craig Gillespie, did Lars and the Real Girl, which we actually reviewed not long before the Oscars last year. I think it was the Valentine's movie.
Yeah, it would have been.
And we really liked that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually a lot more interested in Tonya now.
Yeah, because I actually hadn't seen this yet at that point. and it made me really interested. I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I get this in before the Oscars. So I did.
Yeah, I was curious. I liked the movie as well. I think the kindest thing I'll say about the movie, which makes it sound like I'm going to have a lot of complaints.
I was going to say kindest thing. I mean, that's usually how you start something negative.
Well, what I mean to say is the biggest asset I think this movie has isn't. I mean, the performances are good, right? They're really good from some people. Yeah. And the characters are all outrageous enough that it's interesting to just see a story, because it has. There's always. I don't really like biopics, and this is technically a biopic, and it has that risk of feeling like a biopic. But the characters are so goddamn.
It's not presented in a dry way, with like most biopics are.
Well, that's what I was getting to. Is that I think what I would commend this more than anything else for is that it has an energy. There's an energy to it as it goes through the story that never lets up. It's got a sense of humor, and even as the end credits kick in and the passenger starts playing, it's never like skipped a beat. It's just been moving at that pace the entire time.
Yeah. So, I think the interview framing really helps, because it essentially acts like they're talking to us at points when they use it for transitions.
Yeah,
and that really gives it this flow that kind of transitions it from scene to scene, section of our life to a different section.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. That works.
Because that's something a lot of biopics struggle with is, okay, you want to show some of the childhood, then you want to jump ahead to the important event, and it feels really just scattershot. Whereas doing it through this interview format gives it this connective tissue.
Yeah, and I think it balances a mix of things quite well. But things, I mean tone, because it's got a very upbeat kind of pace. It's got a sense of humor pretty much most of the time. But there are sharp moments of dark violence that happen here or there.
Yeah.
And it handles them fairly well. And it does it in such a way where it can kind of shift back to being funny within a minute.
Yeah.
But it will...
Quite impressive.
It will just halt and make you feel uncomfortable for a scene here or there. And, it's almost impressive that the entire thing sort of like tells this outrageous story about these outrageous characters, some of whom did a very bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a lot of bad things, but one specific that we'll talk about is the incident. And it has this playful way about it, but it never feels like it's making light of the actual event or light of what the people did.
No, it's very aware that they're kind of awful people for most of them. But it makes them likable enough that they're still people, right? And they did some awful things.
I don't know if likable is the right word.
Not all of them. Some of them.
I don't think likable is the right word. To me, this just treats it as we're viewing this through their lens where they're justifying these things, but they're actually very delusional. And the way the story is told makes it clear they're delusional. The way they talk, the way they think, and the way they act feels delusional. It almost feels like real people that It's Always Sunny is kind of based on, in a bizarre way.
It does, and I think when I say likable, I mean likable in the sense of characters, as in you enjoy watching them, rather than that they're actually, these are good people that you'd like.
Oh, sure, that's kind of semantics. I mean, we're differentiating here, come on.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I meant.
Because there is a difference, because they're not likable people. None of them are. They're all kind of awful. I mean, Tonya is more likable in the sense that she's almost a victim by her surroundings. Everyone around her is a complete shithead, and she's kind of a shithead as a byproduct. But you don't necessarily hate her as much as everyone else because she's kind of lumped in with them. Yeah,
I get that.
But yeah, I mean, they're entertaining. They're not likable. There's very much a difference. Because I mean, even It's Always Sunny, I wouldn't say those are likable characters.
Oh, I would.
They're not likable.
They are.
They're entertaining. They're not likable. There's a difference.
There is a difference, but not in Always Sunny's case.
But yeah, so the characters are outrageous. The performances kind of lend to that. I think no one talks about the guy who plays Jeff, Sebastian Stan, right? Winter Soldier himself.
Yeah.
He I feel like I didn't even know he was in this until I watched it.
I feel like he was getting a lot of praise at the time. Not as much as
I never remembered he was in it. I remembered Janney. I remembered obviously Robbie.
Yeah, I don't think he got quite as much praise as those two did, understandably. But he's very good. I feel like he did get talked about quite a bit at the time. But I mean, I don't think he had the lasting impact in the conversation that they did.
Yeah, he just because I thought he was impressive as well, and the guy who played Sean, what's his name, Paul Waterhauser. Uh, he's quite good. Like
He is, yeah.
he's pretty funny. Uh, he's
Great timing on the delivery of some lines.
he does. Oh, he really does. And how unprofessional.
It's on silent. It's always on silent. I just happened to leave it on top of something that it made a louder noise than usual.
Unprofessional.
It's This is only because I left it on top of my tablet, because my tablet is there for something we're doing later. It's normally fine.
I'm hearing excuses. I'm hearing. I'm hearing
Shut
nothing
up.
but excuses. Yeah. So the movie's got attitude. The characters have attitude, and it makes it
Yeah.
very easy. It gives it that energy that I was talking about, and it's constantly moving forward. It's constantly introducing something new. If anything, it's kind of weird structurally in the sense that once they start talking about the incident about maybe 50 minutes in, because it's a 2-hour movie, the entire movie's about that incident from that point on. Like, it's sort of like there's like 45 minutes or so of backstory, and then it's like, okay, here's the build up to the incident and then the fallout after the incident.
Yeah.
It all kind of revolves around that. But that's kind of why
It's weird when you look at it afterwards and go, yeah, that's kind of strange, but it doesn't feel off when you're watching it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it makes sense in the sense that this is kind of the reason why this story's endured. Why Tonya Harding's so famous. I mean, sure, she was a very good skater, and I'm sure was known as the circles for what she was doing on the ice.
Yeah, that huge spin that she does.
The triple.
Yeah, whatever it is. It's like triple and a half, or whatever
triple
it was.
Helix, not helix. It's a word like that though. Triple,
Yeah. Like she's like one of the only women to ever do that.
She was the first American woman at the time. I don't know if anyone's been.
There's
doing it
not
since.
many. There's only a handful still who've ever done it, I think.
That's fine. I'll be honest, they're slacking. Do a quadruple, right? Quadruple.
Yeah,
Been
go
enough
for
time.
it.
Been enough time. We should be on the quadruples now.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about figure skating.
I literally can't even ice skate at all.
Fine, no, I cannot. I've never been ice skating.
I went once, that was shite. I went, never doing that again.
I've never been ice skating. For some reason, I just never tried it. So
We are extremely unqualified to talk about that side of things then.
we are very unqualified. Very unqualified. But, I mean, a lot of the story revolves around her feeling unjustly graded because of who she is, because she doesn't come from a rich family. She comes from a poor family. She comes from a shittier neighborhood. She doesn't speak like everyone else does. She doesn't dress like everyone else does.
I'm inclined to say white trash.
I was trying to avoid that phrase.
I know, but it's the appropriate phrase.
Perhaps it is, but that's she feels like she's not been given a fair shake because of that. They don't like the music she uses. They don't like how she dresses. All these things, and one of them eventually admits that to her, kind of like off the record, like, yeah, like, we're never going to give it to you because
it's presentation. Come on.
Yeah. And honestly, this is the most relatable she gets, because I'm kind of on her side to a point where I'm like, no, this is bullshit.
She's actively out skating people, and they're going, yeah, but she's put in a lot of work over the years. It's her turn.
Yeah, it's actually bullshit. I kind of agree with her. As much as she, approaches the situation, telling judges to suck her dick, maybe not the best way of getting her point across, things like that.
Yeah.
But, I like, you kind of relate to her in those scenes. And she makes an effort, things go bad for a while, but then she makes an effort again, she starts building up. And I think that's actually, going back to the whole idea that she's a victim almost of circumstance, because everyone else around her is a shit. Her mother's awful and abusive, her husband on and off again is abusive, everyone's abusive to her, everyone's shit to her. She actually gets a second chance. Her coach comes back and she builds up, and she's going to go to the Olympics. And while she does kind of know one or two things about what's going on with the incident, ultimately it's kind of other people who do it. It's other people who have the idea, it's other people who carry it out, it's other people who
Escalate it.
Yeah, basically her entire career path, her entire life is taken away by the shitty people around her, because they try to manipulate things in their own shitty way, right? That's essentially what happens. It's hard not to feel sympathy for her when her entire thing comes crumbling down, and ultimately when she's her sentence, what part of her sentence, the main part of her sentence is that she's going to be barred from ever skating again, in competition.
In a professional capacity.
Yeah. Obviously she can go to an ice rink and skate if she feels like it. That's all I meant.
Because that would be a really harsh punishment then.
But she starts crying in the court. It's this emotional scene, and you can't help but feel bad for her because sure, she did withhold information. She does deserve some kind of punishment, sure, but this was not her idea.
She points out, like, hey, the others are getting jail time. She's like, can I not just go to jail for a year, come back out, and go to the next Olympics?
Yeah, and start training again, start building my way up again, and. Yeah, it's a life sentence. Maybe there's a critique here that the judge didn't really understand what he was doing when he was handing out these sentences. He didn't understand how harsh that was compared to everything else. So, but I think she's a sympathetic character because she feels like so much of her. And sure, I mean, how much of this how much of this film is accurate?
Definitely not a documentary.
Definitely not a documentary. But how much of it is accurate? Is this genuine? How sympathetic we should feel towards her? Did she have more involvement than we know of?
Is it just manipulation for the sake of entertainment in the film? Which
possibly.
There are people who really hate that in biopics. Changing anything. Like if you look at Bohemian Rhapsody last year, right? There was people who were furious that they twisted some details of the timeline. I'm like, I don't care if it makes for a better film.
She had twisted the details of the editing.
We're not going there.
I saw a great video that was shared on the Twitters actually of the acceptance speech of the editor when they won best editing, but edited in the style of Bohemian Rhapsody. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm not saying it should have won that. Definitely shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But my point was, people get really angry about this didn't happen at that point in time. It happened later. I'm like, I don't care. It's a story. Make a story out of it, right? It's the same here. Maybe things were a little bit different. I don't know. Not looked into it that much. Ultimately, though, I don't care because it's a damn fine movie.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm sitting here saying, "Oh, Tonya was hard done by," and she shouldn't have got this punishment.
In this
the movie. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Real life, I'm not going to offer an opinion. I don't know. I don't give a shit.
This isn't enough to judge the reality on.
Yeah, I'm talking about the character of Tonya in this movie. I don't really have any opinion on the real life person.
It's probably worth making that clear, though.
Yeah, but no, she is sympathetic, and honestly though, Sean might be the stealer,
the MVP,
of the movie, because he right from the first time you meet him and he's talking about how he's an operative and he's trained in different countries, and you're like, you've never left this town. What are you talking about? You never left this town. And he keeps saying things like, oh no, I've been told I have these qualifications from here and there. I've been told I'm respected like this from here and here. And it's like, and eventually when the FBI are talking to him, or it's actually not in interviews, it's the documentary interviews towards the end, where they just say to him, by who? Like, who said this? We looked into this. There's no evidence you've ever had this training or you've ever done this anywhere. And he National Geographic said once or something. I think that's what he says.
Yeah.
He's such a bullshitter. But of course, when the FBI talks to him, what's that?
He knows people though, so it's fine.
So he claims. But he likes to talk like he knows what he's talking about. Like when he hires people, because Jeff only wants to send threatening letters to the competitive, what's her face?
Because Tonya got a death threat, so they're like, it's the girls messing with each other, so we'll send some back. It'd be harmless enough, right?
Well,
relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking, sure.
It's a prank, and it's mildly severe, but it's still ultimately a prank.
But basically the letters don't get sent, and Jeff's trying to say, hey, I want my money back, and he's like, these are not people you want to betray here, Jeff. And my people, balls are being played with, because he misspeaks and says plays with, not rolling, being played with, and the other character doesn't even calls him out on it. He just sort of rolls over it because he doesn't care. He's just no. I want my money back. Get my money back. Yeah. This is done. And then later when it actually happens, he's just like, no, I took the initiative and we went through with it. This is for the better. And of course it's not. As soon as he gets a question about the FBI, he gives up everyone within like 10 seconds.
I love that interior because it starts with, it's like, right, so, Tonya Hardy. And it's like, Tony Hardy? Never heard of him.
You're a bodyguard.
Oh, her.
My favorite part though is like, no, I don't know how this could have got. How could anyone know that we had involvement in this? And there's like a montage of him like just bragging to strangers like everywhere. It's like, oh, that was my crew who did that. Oh, that was my. And he was like, oh yeah. Hit him 3 times in the leg with a baton. All this shit.
It gets more extreme every time he tells it.
So no, really funny. Yeah, he's an extremely entertaining character.
He is, yeah.
He's clearly the type of character in real life that you should not trust or be, put any faith in whatsoever for anything ever.
Yeah.
But
do not give this man $1,000.
Yes. In a movie though, he's very, very entertaining. So
yeah,
there you go. So the movie's got a bit of a heart with Tonya. It's got energy. It's constantly moving. And it bounces between things. And, some of the actual things that I assume are all based on real events, like when her mother throws a knife at her and it stabs her in the arm. And it's kind of like, hey, I know you've been beating the shit out of her this like her whole life, but this might have been one step too far. Throw a knife at her.
You think?
And there's just this awkward moment as she's pulling a knife out of her arm. And I'm like, oh, okay. Also, Josie actually got me was when she's a little girl and she's like crying at her dad not to leave when her parents are splitting up, and I'm like, her mother's already awful. She's like, no, take me with you, please. Don't leave me with her. Don't leave me with her. She's awful. She's like a drill sergeant.
And she's like 6 or whatever it is.
Yeah. In fact, the actress who played that aged version was from Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, okay.
I knew that kid.
You wouldn't have done if you watched this last year at the time, would you?
Well, no, but
you do now.
It'd have been the opposite. It'd have been like, oh, that's the kid from I, Tonya when I watched.
See, the thing is, the other way around, I doubt you'd have remembered.
Maybe.
It's too small a part here, whereas I assume in Hill House it was a.
Oh, she's there all season, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you learnt to know who she was, and then you see her here, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You never got that the other way around.
Maybe not. I don't know. Hard to say. So no, a good soundtrack as well. There's a lot of source music from the time period.
Yeah, some cracking tunes.
Yeah, puts you in the time period. At one point, Margot Robbie is playing the 15-year-old version, and I'm like, okay, right, you've put some braces on her to make her look young, but I mean,
she looks good, but come on.
Hard time swallowing this.
Yeah. A landslide, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you want to transition to Margot Robbie as quickly as you can. You don't want to have other actors.
It's true. Yeah.
It's
half the reason why they probably had the interviews at the start. It's like, right, Margot Robbie, get her in first thing.
Oh, sure, yeah, because then you'd be waiting like 30 minutes before you see Margot Robbie, potentially. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long it is before you see her at 15. May not be that long, but...
No, but, it's immediately just get her on screen.
Yeah.
I get it.
Want some cat?
Fucking cats.
Would you want cat? What do you want?
Which one is attention? It now?
This is Firefly. He's been a menace.
Of course it is. It's always Firefly. What a shit cat.
Here he comes. All right. So.
Going to destroy things.
Yes. He did actually knock out audio in a stream like yesterday, so.
I'm not surprised.
It does happen. It happen.
It really does.
Joey, I wasn't expecting to see Bobby Carnival's in there.
Yeah.
As one of the interviewers, he worked for some sleazy news show called Hard Copy, which notably stuck out. Actually, was it Hard Copy?
I don't recall the name, so
I don't know. It made me think of a Hardcore from Predator 2, which was like a sleazy news show that was on that.
Right, okay. That's such a specific reference.
It just made me think of it. But he's sitting there all smarmy, kind of like, just...
doing Bobby Carnival stuff.
My favourite part, of course, is when he's telling about how Sean was staking out a place where he thought the other skater was practicing, and he moved his car every 15 minutes in the same parking lot to avoid suspicion, even though that made him stick out like a sore thumb. And then found out after 2 days of doing this that she was in a different city.
Yeah. uh, this movie is really quite funny.
It's very funny, and I think what really helps the humor in it is that, at least as far as we know, most of this is based on things that were real. The things that, these characters, these people actually did these stupid things. They actually thought like this.
Yeah, that does make it funnier, doesn't it? I mean, even if this was just a completely made up movie, it would still be funny.
Yes.
But knowing that someone tried this, someone thought this was a good idea, someone used this excuse for something, it's funnier.
It is. But I don't want to turn this into just, look at all these crazy real things that happened like in the movie.
No.
I mean, really what we're talking about is how does the movie achieve it, and we've mostly done that. It's mostly through it's balancing act, it's performances, it's quick pace, it's all these things that kind of make it
really strong direction overall to tie it together.
Yeah, because there's several moments where the characters will stop and talk to the camera, as if it's like almost as if it's them in the interviews in the present.
Yeah, use it as a transition.
Yeah, and use it as a transition. There's times when they'll just turn to the camera and say, "Oh, this doesn't happen," or "This is a lie. This never happened," or things like that. It'll do all these little things, and they're very stylistic, but they make
it a bit of character, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes it feel like it's got a bit of pep. There's a pep as it moves forward, which I think is quite good.
Yeah. Do you know what movie? From recent times, it kind of reminds me of Adam McKay movies. The Big Short, and similarly Vice has a very similar feeling in that respect. The hey, these are some real events, but we're going to kind of treat it tongue in cheek in some regards, and play with the audience a bit.
Yeah, and arguably this benefits even more because these characters are actually this wacky.
Yeah,
they're this insane. One of the details I really liked is that Tonya trained like Rocky from Rocky 4 because
it's like she really did this.
Yeah, he beat the Russian in Rocky 4, so this is a good idea. So she's riding with the dog food over her shoulder. And I'm sure it's a fine training technique, but it's just really funny. It's like, I saw it in Rocky 4. We're doing this.
It's a good a reason as any.
Oh dear.
Yeah. No, I really like this movie. That's why I was not upset at all to watch this again, even though obviously I watched it just over a year ago. Sorry, it was very distracting.
I was going to try to put the cat over my neck like it was the dog food.
Yeah.
It didn't work though. He wasn't happy about it.
No, not surprised. I wouldn't be either.
I'd probably have better luck putting you over my shoulders, to be honest.
You can try.
That's a fireman's carry. You can do that. That's a thing.
You could. No. People could. I'm not sure you could.
Are you saying I'm too weak?
I am saying exactly that. Alternatively, you could have gone the other way and implied that I was too heavy, but you chose to make that about yourself. Just want that out there. You made that about you.
No. See, my implication is it doesn't matter how heavy you are. I can do
it. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually what he had.
I think it's funny you mentioned editing earlier.
Yes.
Because I think the editing in this is pretty fantastic.
It's not. It's just like I say, everything about this has energy. The editing has this forward momentum the entire time.
Yeah, it's always paced so perfect. Like obviously we spoke a lot about the pacing of the movie overall, but we haven't spoken much about the scene pacing. I think that's pretty immaculate as well. This movie really fires on all cylinders. It's
really quick. It's actually kind of impressive. I never felt that was a burden because there's some movies where I think it goes too fast when it has scenes that are this quick. I think because of the nature of the characters and the kind of absurd situations that we're getting into, it worked with this pace of editing in the scenes because
it does always feel like it's skating along.
Oh, very good. But there's definitely other movies where I think this pacing would hurt it. Like the scene pacing was like, no, slow down. Let me soak in the scene. Let me soak in the moment between the characters. And this movie doesn't really operate like that because they're almost such caricatures that I don't want to slow down with them because then it'll almost make them feel less real. But in a weird way that they're based on real people. But it would almost be harder to swallow if I slowed down and actually had to treat them like real people.
Yeah, you have to think about it too hard.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
It has to be the hammer to the face. It can't be subtle. in this movie.
Yeah, this movie is not Saw.
Yeah, or a cabbage to the face is one scene was more like. So, you know, but yeah. That's I tell you, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it got nominated for Best Picture, although it probably deserved it more than half the stuff that did get nominated.
I can't remember exactly what it was up against, so I'm not willing to stake that.
Yeah, when we said all the picks for the vote were Oscar nominated, we didn't necessarily mean Best Picture. This was obviously Best Actress, Supporting Actress, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't recall what was nominated for Best Picture that year, so not willing to say it should have been on there for definite.
The Post was nominated. This was definitely better than The Post.
Oh, this was better than The Post. Okay, yeah. So, sure. Not going to argue on that one. Is this one that had Phantom Thread in there?
Possibly, yeah.
Because screw that movie. It's terrible.
I never saw it, but yeah.
Don't ever watch it. It's utter gobshite.
I recall you being upset about it. But yeah.
So I mean, that's 2 already that it should have been in there over. This is going to be really funny if it was nominated and we're just forgetting.
I'm going to check.
Yeah. I'm just taking your word for it. I think it's pretty clear at this stage to any of our regular listeners that I have an atrocious memory.
Yes.
So what do I know? Especially when it's so easily Googleable.
Yeah, Call Me by Your Name won.
Yeah, I remember thinking that shouldn't have won. I mean, it was a good movie, but no, come on.
Oh, no, don't you dare play that autoplay video. You know better, variety. Yeah, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk. I'd put this over Dunkirk for sure.
I dislike Dunkirk. I really like Darkest Hour though. I mean,
I know this is not going to be a popular opinion here, but I would happily put this over Shape of Water by like a.
Oh no. And obviously we've not scored this yet.
Yes.
But I'm clearly very positive on this movie. But no, come on.
No. Shape of Water should have been frozen, and then Tonya Harding should have been ice skating over it. Right? That is what should happen.
I'm not having that.
Yes. No. Out of the ones I've seen, like I like this more than most of them. So, there you go. Yeah. We should rate it though. What are you rating, Tonya?
8.5. I really like it.
8.5. I'm gonna go with a solid 8 out of 10. I do think between this and Lars and the Real Girl, I think Lars and the Real Girl is the better movie.
That's fair.
But this is really solid. So yeah. I would recommend it. So that was the Patreon vote. We actually have another Patreon vote that's already finished. So that'll be coming up sometime later in the month, early next month, when we have time to get to it. It was a vault pick. The vault, if you don't know, we've not mentioned the vault in a while actually, but the vault is something our patrons can do at the $5 tier. They can submit movies to the vault. It's a list of movies that they recommend essentially. So the vote for that came after this was 4 movies from the vault, and then our patrons voted on them, and the winner was Blue Steel, which we'll be getting to sometime in the near future. So you can look forward to that. And the new vote will be up soon. So look forward to that too. But yeah, go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support us. You can do that over there. You can like, subscribe as well. That can support us too. But you can go over there and support us for as little as $1 per month. Get some stuff early, including these Influx episodes, and
which means stuff. If you're getting this on YouTube publicly, that new vote is probably already
up. That's
up.
True. Yeah, the new vote is probably already up if this is on YouTube publicly. But yeah, so let us know what you think of the movie in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel, I already did all that part, so I'm just going to move swiftly on. I'm on autopilot. But yeah, that's us. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We appreciate it. Keep watching movies. We'll see you next time. And if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.